Hi, I hope you're well, and today I want to do the mid-year freakout tag. You might notice there's way more color in this video. I was shooting the previous videos in log and kind of color grading them, but I got a bit discouraged, and instead of letting myself get stuck on that, I'm just gonna film in auto for a while until I feel ready to tackle color grading again. I'm only realizing now how much nice color, what a nice color combination we have going on here. But you might notice I am in a new place. Obviously, if you've watched the previous videos, I'm in a new place. I have officially moved out of Portugal and out of this big city, and I couldn't be happier about not living in a big city anymore. It is so silent here. Finally, I want to have some random motorcycle drivers and trams driving past and people shouting. It's just quiet. All I hear is birds, and I love it. So I haven't charged my camera batteries in a while, and I did not realize until I switched on the camera today. So let's hope I can film a decent amount before it dies. I have another battery charging, but I don't know how much it'll be able to charge before this one dies. So we'll see. So I am here to discuss the mid-year freakout book tag with you. I did not go with every question on there because there are some questions that just wouldn't apply to me, like having a crush on a character. I don't think I've ever had that truly before, or if I have, it just doesn't happen often. So certain questions I left out, and I saw some other YouTubers doing one or two extra questions, so I kind of just mishmashed a couple questions together. So let's go through. First, I want to go through some stats. In the first half of 2026, I read 62 books. That's crazy. I did not expect that, and I love it because it was never the plan, and I didn't realize it until I had already read 62 books. That was partly my goal, I guess. I don't want to focus on the amount of books I've read. If anything, I want to focus on the amount of pages, but first and foremost, I simply want to enjoy what I read and just read what I want to read. That is my main priority always. So the fact that reading what I enjoy resulted in me reading 17,615 pages and 62 books is pretty good, and I'm so happy about that. Whether I will continue like this for the rest of the year, read another 62 books, I don't know. I am again going to try to not look at the number if I can, because again, I don't want to rush to hit a certain number. My priorities lie with enjoying and reading enough pages, which I think as a goal I set myself 25,000 pages this year, something like that, and I am already at 17,600, so I think I will hit that easily. We'll see. Who knows? Maybe I'll go into a bad reading slump, but I don't think so, because I have a rule with myself that I have to read at least one page every single day. Sometimes I really do only read one page because sometimes life gets busy, or things just don't allow you to read for hours on end. So sometimes I'll get home at 1 a.m. and I still go and just read one page just to say, okay, I read that one page. And I've actually been pretty consistent with it the whole year, and that does not happen often. So super happy with that goal of mine, and I do think it contributes again to me not slumping super badly. Of the 62 books I read 6 non-fiction books and 56 fiction books. This is not something that I pay attention to too much. Like I said, I try to read what I want to read, but it's nice to see a little bit of variety, even if it's just a little bit. What I am happy about is that I've read 14 around the world books so far. I would like that number to be higher, but I'm also not gonna hate myself for it. I think that'll come naturally the more and more I just pick up what I want instead of pick up what I see online. Also, a lot of my around the world books aren't here, with me physically. So I think once I'm with them in November, which is already the end of the year, but yeah, once I'm with them, I might be more likely to read them, Something I am happy about is that I did not read 62 books in English. I read 60 books in English and 2 books in French I would like the number to be higher, and I would like there to be at least 3 other languages in there, but I am happy that usually it's only English, right? And English is not my mother tongue. It's my first language in the sense that I'm the most fluent in it out of all the languages I speak, whether it's, professional context, personal context, whatever you call them. But it's actually not my mother tongue. My mother tongue is actually French, and so I'm happy that I read 2 books in French. And I have a couple more books with me now in French, and I think I'm slowly starting to lose my fear of reading in a language other than English, it's such a dumb fear, because I speak other languages fluently, maybe not as fluently as English, but I speak them fluently. And that fear of reading in another language, I don't know why I have it, but I do. So I think 2 books is a good start. Now I'm hoping to add at least 2 other languages to the whole thing. I have a German book here now that I really want to read before the end of the year, and then also reading a Portuguese book. So it should work out, but it's a good start. And then my average is 3.93 stars. So that's not too bad at all. I'm not complaining. I don't really care too much about my average. I just read what I want to read, right? And then either I like it or I don't, or whatever. Either way, the stars rating system, I've kind of been doubting it a little bit, because sometimes I did not necessarily love the experience of reading a book, but it felt so important, and I respect so much what the author was doing, and I had a really, let's say, deep experience with the book, but not necessarily a positive one. And so then would you rate that, in terms of personal enjoyment, maybe on the lower side, but in terms of, whoa, author, I respect you so much, it would be 5 stars. So I don't quite know what to do with the rating system. Anyways, let's get to the questions. So the best book that I've read so far in 2026 is, I was going back and forth between 2 books, but now I put 1 book here and then the other book in another question. But I would say my best book in terms of just enjoyment, I just loved it, is The Pomegranate Gate by Ariel Kaplan. I don't have it with me because a lot of my books are still in Portugal. I'm gonna go fetch them in a month. So anyway, my books are scattered. That's just how it is. But The Pomegranate Gate was amazing. I loved it. It was exactly my type of fantasy. I think it was Becca from Becca and the Books recommended as for fans of The Bear and the Nightingale trilogy and the Devabad trilogy by Shannon Chakraborty, and I really liked both of those, so I was like, okay, let's check it out. But I just didn't expect it to be my favorite, and I loved it so much. And I actually have, let me show you the next 2 books here, finally, and I'm so excited to read them right after I finish the book I'm currently reading. Next, the worst book I've read so far in 2026. I think I'm going for Ascension by S.T. Gibson. So I've definitely read worse books, right? I've definitely read way worse books in my life before, so I wouldn't say this is the worst book I've read. Yeah, I'm looking at you, the Night and the Moth. But it wasn't great. It felt like S.T. Gibson kind of lost track of where she even wanted the story to go, or what she even wanted the story to be, or I don't know, maybe it's just my expectations that were completely off, because I loved A Diary of Blood and I found Evocation okay, and Ascension was just like, dude, like what, why? The way one character specifically was acting in this book was just pissing me off so much, and it just, like, I just could not root for them at all. Like, this is a polyamorous relationship, right? But I honestly think that none of them should be together. Yeah, anyways, there's one I don't want to spoil anything, but there's one person in the... Okay, so my camera did die, but it seems like one of my other batteries have charged semi enough. I don't know, we'll see. Anyways, I was saying one of the characters in the polyamorous relationship was just pissing me off so much that I couldn't root for their involvement in the relationship. I was just like, you know what, just get out, like leave the other two, please break up with him. I don't think he should be in your lives. Like he pissed me off so much. So okay, I'll leave it at that. But next question is best sequel I've read this year. So this is the book that I was considering putting as one of the best books I've read in 2026, because it is one of the best books I've read this year. But the best sequel I've read, which is not even really a sequel, it's more like a companion or add-on, I don't know, is The Arrow of God by Chinua Achebe. What can I say? I loved it. It was amazing. And I will forever read anything and everything by Chinua Achebe. What book surprised me the most? So for this book, I decided to go for Dark Sisters by Christie de Meester. I don't know if she's Dutch or not. It's a Dutch name, which you would probably say de Meester. But I'm not sure where she's actually from. The reason I say it surprised me is because I only read it because I needed to read a new release from December 2025. And this was the only one that sounded semi-intriguing. So I read it in Jan, I think, or in Feb. And I was so surprised. It was a book about feminine rage and religion and being queer as a woman, and just this weird phenomenon of men simultaneously hating, like despising women and worshipping them. De Meester really explored this in her novel, and wow, like the way it was written, it was quite horrific or gory at times. Sometimes I had to like read through my fingers, because I was like, no, I can't read that. But I was so pleasantly surprised, and it made me so angry. But I wasn't angry at the book. Like the author was just evoking anger within me. Like I was feeling so much feminine rage. It was just a lovely surprise. And I think if you like women, feminine rage, horror, even if you don't like horror, I would still read it because I don't like horror and I still liked it. And if you like witches and lesbians and I guess a little bit of historical, this is a wonderful, wonderful book. And I'm so glad that I read it, because without her kid, without having to read a new release every month, I would not have discovered it. Next question is, what book disappointed you the most? I also went back and forth on this, but I think I am settling on Orlando by Virginia Woolf. I've read The Waves and To the Lighthouse by her, other than Orlando, and I love, love, love those two books, right? I really love Virginia Woolf's writing, even though sometimes it does drag, but I don't know, with her I don't mind it as much. I just really identify with her writing and with the way she sees the world sometimes. But Orlando was just disappointing in my opinion. Like I said, her writing sometimes tends to drag, but I don't usually mind it because I think it's just beautiful still most of the time. But with Orlando, I just did not see the point. I saw the point of the whole book. Like I think the way she discussed gender roles and what we're expected to do and what it's like, living as a man, as a woman, and just I think she explored all of that wonderfully, and I got the overall point. However, there were sections where it would just be pages on pages of nothing, it was so boring and it was dragging so much, and I didn't hate it. I think I gave it like 3.25 stars or so, but yeah, I just expected to love it more, especially also because of the content of what I was told it was. It is very much what people say it is, but it's just, I don't know, I expected it to be more readable and just more beautiful as well. I think the writing in the other two books of hers I've read is way more beautiful than in Orlando. I don't know, it kind of felt like I wasn't reading Virginia Woolf, which was a bit sad. So yeah, that's why I say disappointed, even though I didn't hate it. The first DNF of the year. My first DNF of the year is actually Marta by Kaveh Akbar, I think. And my first DNFs were actually in May. So I went 5 months without a single DNF, which is not very common. I'm not gonna lie, but in May I had 2 DNFs. Marta was the first one though, and I didn't DNF it because I thought it was bad. I DNF'd it, I think, a chapter in or so, because I just realized very quickly I don't think this is going to be a book for me. Like I could already tell it was beautifully written. I could already tell it was going to be a very well done book. But yeah, I just got a chapter in and I knew that it wasn't going to be for me. I really struggle with characters, or people in general, but characters who very much live with the victimhood mindset. And so any inkling of that, I usually get out as quick as possible. I realized that after I read Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb, and I didn't hate it, but I hated the main character. I could just feel that I wouldn't be giving the book a fair chance because it just has an aspect that I really, really struggle with. So I decided to put it down, but I don't think it was a bad book. I think, on the contrary, it was, from the chapter I read, it was very clearly very well written. Next question: a new favorite author or an author new to you? For this, I decided to go for Ariel Kaplan as like a new author that I have loved. I mean, I've only read one book by her. I'm still gonna read the next two in the series, but I loved The Pomegranate Gate and I loved the way she wrote it, so I have a good feeling about her. The next two authors I'm mentioning, I have read a couple books by them before. From both, I had read 3 books before, and then this year I read one more book of theirs. And I loved both those books so much, and it was kind of a reminder as well as a confirmation that I really enjoyed their writing, their storytelling, their, them as an author. So the first one is Catherine Arden. I read the Winter Night trilogy years ago. I don't even remember when at this point, but I loved her writing, her atmosphere, her just everything. I loved that series so much. And this year I read The Unicorn Hunters by her. I haven't read The Warm Hands of Ghosts by her because, I don't know, the premise didn't sound like something I would be looking forward to. However, now I'm definitely going to read it because I loved The Unicorn Hunters again, and it just reminded me of that feeling, that atmospheric writing that Catherine Arden has. So super happy to have read her again, and I think I can slowly call her a favorite author because I loved her other trilogy as well. There's a fly flying around here that's pissing me off. The second author with which I have pretty much the same relationship is S.A. Chakraborty, or Shannon Chakraborty, I think she has now on her books. But I read the David Budd trilogy by her also years ago at this point, and I thought it was so well written. It was so well done. I didn't love The City of Brass, or it was like a okay read, but the second and third book, especially Empire of Gold, the third book was amazing, was insane. I was already very impressed with her as an author then, and this year I finally decided to read The Adventures of Amina al-Sirafi. And I loved it so much, and it just solidified, I guess, that she could very well also be a favorite author of mine. So, Catherine Arden, Shannon Chakraborty, pretty much same story. And I think from now on, whatever they publish, I am 100% reading without even looking at the premise, the cover, nothing. The next question is a book that came out in 2026 that you have not read yet. So I'm going to mention Ariel Kaplan once again. But the third book in the Mirror Realm Cycle series, The Kingdom of Almonds, actually came out this year. So I still need to read the second book in the series, but the third book I definitely still want to read this year. And then the other one, pretty much same situation, is The Antiquarian's Object of Desire by India Holton. I read The Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love this year, and I still need to read the second book, which is A Geographer's Map to Romance, but this book came out this year, so really looking forward to this as well. In Portugal, I also have A Beast Slings towards Beijing, and I'm super excited for that as well. I completely forgot that it came out in 2026. And then finally, a book that I am looking forward to that has come out, I think, is Sublimation. I think it's Sublimation, right? But I don't own it, but I like the concept because if I remember correctly, it's about, what it's like to move away from your home country and how you essentially leave behind a certain person and become someone new. And I think the book is called Sublimation, where if you leave the country, there's like a clone of you or a copy of you that stays in that home country. And as someone who has moved away from home a couple of times at this point, that's just a phenomenon, a situation, or whatever you want to call it, that I could relate to and that I find super interesting. So I don't have it on my TBR, but it definitely is floating on my radar somewhere. And then the next question is a 2026 release you are looking forward to. Okay, so there's a couple. Let me go through them. The first book would be Sea of Charms. I read the other two books. Is it The Spell Shop and The Enchanted Greenhouse? When I read The Spell Shop, I was like, okay, cute, that's fine. I wasn't too interested in reading the next book, but then I did. I read The Enchanted Greenhouse, and I really liked that one a lot more. So now I'm pretty excited for Sea of Charms, actually, and also happy to tick off another series. The next book I'd be excited for is Into the Fading Light by Catherine Cowles. This year I read Across the Vanishing Sky, and that was my first dabble into romantic suspense, and I really loved it. I had so much fun with it, and I remember just not being able to put it down at all. So I'm super happy to be continuing in the series. This would be the second book in the series. You can probably read them out. Actually, I don't know if you could read them out of order. No, actually, I don't think you could, but I had a lot of fun with them, or with the first book, so I'm excited with this, especially because I read a couple other romantic suspense afterwards to kind of fill that hole, or that, I don't know, that need, but they didn't hit the same like Across the Vanishing Sky did. So I really hope this one does. I really do. The rest of the books I kind of just saw somewhere that they're coming out. I don't know anything about the books really. I just saw that they're authors that I've loved. So I might be looking out for those as well when it gets closer to the time of their release. The first book would be We Chase Shadows. This is a Richard Osman. Even though We Solve Murders wasn't my favorite book of his, I can't not be excited for Richard Osman. So that just, it just has to be on the list. Next, I saw that Brandon Sanderson is also coming out with a book, I think it's called The Fire or something like that. Finally, I also saw that Madeline Miller is coming out with a new book. It's called Mestra, I think. I'm not sure right now whether it's a full-length novel. I think it might be another short story like Galatea was, but I'll read anything by Madeline Miller. At this point, I really loved all her other books, so yeah, what can I say? Okay, and then the next question is, what genre have I read the most of this year? And I was surprised to find out that it is literary fiction first, and then fantasy, actually. Which is funny because I was in a major fantasy slump like the last 2 years or so. So the fact that fantasy is my second most read genre this year, I was really impressed with. And also a genre I read a lot of which is not really a genre, but yeah, are classics. I've read 10 classics this year, in the first half of the year, and 10 classics in 6 months. I think that's pretty impressive. Or at least I'm pretty impressed with myself. So yeah, patting myself on the shoulder for that one. And then the final question is, what is my 2026 TBR / books I still need to read before the end of the year? There's a fly flying around here. I don't even know if you can see it, but just ignore it if you can. Of course, there are a lot of books I still need to read before the end of the year, but these are the ones that I really would prefer to not let the year end without having read them. First one is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Yes, I have not read this yet, and yes, I'm super excited to read it. Hopefully, I'll read it this month. That is my goal, but let's see what the mood reading does. Next, I would of course love to finish these two series, the Mirror Realm Cycle series, and I don't know if this one has a series name. The book 2 and 3 after the field guide, the Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love. Obviously, would love to have them done before the end of the year. Then, The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. I am currently reading the order that Brandon Sanderson recommended reading his books in, and first I read the Mistborn trilogy, although a while ago at this point. Then I read Dress of the Emerald Sea, and then was there another book in between? I don't remember. Anyways, the next book I need to read is The Way of Kings. It's so thick. Oh my goodness. I am more intimidated by its length than anything. I trust that I will love it, even though I know that this book is a lot of setting up the world, a lot of probably info dumping. I don't know. Either way, I don't mind. I'm happy and excited for it. It's just more the length that scares me. Similarly, another book whose length scares me is The Count of Monte Cristo. I technically started this book in 2024, and then for whatever reason I stopped. I actually still have my bookmark. I got this far in, which is like 104 pages, and I still remember everything that happened up until this point, which is pretty impressive in my opinion, because I tend to forget easily sometimes. So I could honestly just, start reading from here. I don't think I need to reread the first 104 pages again. But yeah, my goal is to have this done by the end of the year. My goal is to read it in, I think, like September, October, November time. I don't know how long it'll take. I don't know if I should give myself 20 pages to read every day, or to just read every day and see how much I get in. I don't know yet, but this definitely needs to be done by the end of the year. Then I don't know if you know what TBR Spin is, but Sarah from Freshly Read Books does a TBR Spin challenge thing that I joined because it's a way to make sure I read certain books that I. Anyways, as I was saying, the TBR Spin challenge is just a way for you to, you create a list of 12 books that you either are intimidated by, have owned for a long time, or just want to make sure you read this year. And then every month she spins a wheel, and that kind of helps you pick which book you're going to read off of that list in that month. And then sometimes there are some swapping out prompts and so on. But yeah, if you're interested, check it out. I love it. It's a really great, low stress way for me to get through a lot of my books. I decided to add all my TBR veterans / the books that I'm the most intimidated by. I'm currently reading my TBR Spin book for July, so it is going well, it's working. But the books that are still on the list that I do need to read, obviously, before the end of the year, if they don't get swapped out, because they could, are The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern, The Lake of Dead Languages by Carol Goodman, In the Dream House, The Big Truck That Went by Jonathan M. Katz. I'm going to talk about this more in a second. And finally, The God of Small Things by Arundhati Roy. These definitely need to be read by the end of the year, unless in the challenge I swap them out or so. We will see. But other than that, we're getting there. I know this is a big TBR now that I look at it, but whatever. The last little stack of books we need to get to. This is not all of them. There's one or two that I don't have yet, and I'm either gonna buy them as an ebook or an audiobook, or just order them as well physically. But okay, actually no, this one is not part of it, but The Iliad is a book that I want to read by the end of the year, because I've read so many books with references to this, and I don't know, I just want to be able to say that I've read the Iliad. I also have the Odyssey, but the Iliad is definitely the goal for this year. Who knows? Maybe I'll read this next month and then continue straight to the Odyssey. I'm not sure yet, but I'm not going to set myself the goal of reading both of them in 1 year. I don't know, we'll see. This is a gorgeous cover, right? I decided to go for the Emily Wilson translation just because I like what I've seen and heard of it. So yeah, super excited. It's also a bit thick. It has, what are they called, deckled edges, which I don't have many books like that, so it's cool. Okay, now this is the stack I was talking about. These are part of what I call my personal curriculum books. These are The Big Truck That Went By, which I already mentioned, The White Man's Burden by William Easterly, and Dead Aid by Dumbi Samuel. I'm reading them because being African and having seen in what ways some European countries and the US and so on have tried to aid Africa, but actually just not helped at all or made things worse. And also in what ways these governments kind of use these types of aid and so on to keep control, in Africa. And it's things that I know because, I don't know, just having grown up there and having seen it, but I want to now build proper knowledge on it, like really be able to understand why exactly it doesn't work and what does work, what would work, what doesn't, and just, I don't know, I just want to be able to really understand it and really be able to speak about it intellectually as well, because I meet so many people that are interested in having the conversation. So yeah, that is my goal. I've actually already started Dead Aid and I really like it so far. I'm also reading 1 or 2 other books, or 3, I don't know, a couple other books regarding this topic. But like I said, I don't own them physically yet. I might still order them, or I'll get them as an ebook or audiobook, or who knows, if I come across something like that or one of those books while going to a bookstore or a secondhand bookstore, I'll get them. Yeah, I really want to have read all of these books. I don't know if you can see them scattered in front of me right now, just a little bit. I want to have read all these books by the end of the year, and that is, so that was the final question of the book tag. I hope you enjoy. I'd love to hear, I don't know, any opinions you might have, whether there are any books that you've told yourself you are going to read before the end of 2026, or if there's a book that you already know is going to be your best book of the whole year. I honestly don't know if The Pomegranate Gate will stay the best book of the year, but who knows? We will see. I have some pretty good books lined up, and the book I'm reading right now I am loving. It's giving me 5-star feels, so we will see. We will see when the time comes at the end of the year. Anyways, if you're still here, thank you